Hey folks, welcome back. Time for a quick puzzle unboxing. I got a order in today from HKNowStore, based in Hong Kong, as the name suggests. I'm sure a lot of you out there are familiar with them and may have used them before. And what's interesting about HKNowStore is they tend to have these exclusives and pre-orders that aren't available elsewhere. It's a little bit unfortunate, in my opinion, because I've had some bad luck with the store in the past. The prices are also quite a bit higher than some of the Chinese vendors like Z-Cube or CubeZZ or what have you. However, sometimes it is worth it to me because they pick up some really exclusive stuff, and that's exactly what we've got in this package today. So without any further ado, let's find how the heck I can cut this open. Start on the side here. There we go. And maybe just straight across. It's not the most artful packaging I've ever seen, but gets the job done, doesn't it? And finally, I think we have some access here. There we go. Oh, almost. Very efficient, I am. There we go. Okay. Everything is bubble wrapped up, which is always a good sign. So, just to give you a heads up, these are all two-dimensional Twisty puzzles that we're getting today. You'll notice on this guy here, there's a little VeryPuzzle sticker there. So what's happened is, oh, and there's the name, Algol. The VeryPuzzle has been offering a service where vendors can order limited reproductions of some out-of-stock puzzles. So they did that with some of the two-dimensional puzzles that I have yet to own from them. Here's yet another one. And also, they did some special edition versions of some of the Geranium series, which HK Now also commissioned. Now, they had some really cool color variations, basically, of the Super Geranium Plus, and Geranium W. I only picked up one variation, which is of the Super Geranium, not the Plus, because the color I wanted from Super Geranium Plus is already sold out. I may yet be sort of suckered into buying one of the Geranium W variations, because I do like that puzzle a lot, but it's also very expensive. And, we're in a cost of living crisis, so I can't be too extravagant at the moment. But I did want to get at least one of these kind of color variations, because I really love the Geranium puzzles. They're really challenging and interesting and cool. All right. There we go. So that's the big boy, the Super Geranium. Now, what does it say here? Category toy/twisty puzzle. Material ABS, PVC, PMMA, and steel. Manufactured VeryPuzzle.com. 29 by 29 by 3.5 centimeters. Designed and manufactured in China. Number 3 of 8. You see, they've only made 8 of this color combo, which is pretty cool, I have to admit. Although I'm not a huge fan of this kind of thing in general, where, there's a lot of exclusivity and collectability, because that tends to make hobbies like this less accessible. And Twisty puzzling is filled with that. I mean, look at all these, YouTube channels where everybody's spending thousands of pounds a month on 3D printed stuff, which, normal people just can't do. And even on the Twisty Puzzle forums, there's loads of great puzzle designs that people put up, and you can only get them through 3D printing, or, they show off puzzles that you can never buy, essentially, which I find a little bit of a shame. Ooh, look at that. All right. So, for those of you who remember my previous videos, and I'll put a link about the geraniums in the description, of course. So, this is kind of perhaps the most legendary of the modern 2D Twisty puzzles. And they did a whole series of these. Now, you can see that the main marketing point of this special one is that it's an orange gradient color scheme, which I think looks really cool. And orange has always been my favorite color since I'm a kid. So, I was suckered right in to buy this one right away. We've got some paper bits stuck around the wheels here. So the concept of these puzzles is they function pretty much identically to a regular 3D Twisty puzzle, but they are two-dimensional. And because of the way these are cut and the complexity of the patterns here, the Geranium puzzles are notoriously difficult. Now, what's unique here about this guy, the Super Geranium, is that you'll see in the center we have 5 circles, right? And they are very heavily overlapping. It's like a deep cut twisty puzzle, right? So every time I move, one of these inner circles, if I can do that, yeah. So you'll see. I mean, I've taken a huge chunk out of the next circle over, right? So it's a deep cut. Now the outer layers of the circles here are a shallower cut. See, when I pull that around, I only get this little sliver here. So actually, as far as I'm aware, these stem pieces here inside these outer circles are not scramblable. So it creates an interesting sort of dichotomy here where the puzzle in the center is deep cut, everything gets deeply scrambled. It's going to be very difficult to solve. And then you have these outer regions here which cannot be fully scrambled just due to the physical nature of the puzzle. And that will create an interesting solve, I think. I haven't done the full solve of the Geranium, Super Geranium yet. I do have, of course, the original version, as you'll see in the video that I'll put a link to. Oops, and a screw just fell out. And I also have the Super Geranium Plus, which has a lot of unbandaging cuts in it. I can't get this screw to go back on. Well, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, but basically I got this because I love orange stuff, and I thought it looked really cool. It will be an identical solve to the Super Geranium. I don't think there's anything unique about the placement of the colors. It's just that rather than having, a bunch of heavily differentiated shades, we've got this gradient orange scheme. As far as I'm aware, the pattern of in the extent of the colors on each face or circle, I guess, is precisely the same. So you can see, it might be hard to differentiate all the colors on the camera, so I apologize for that. But this color here, you can see very clearly we have most of a circle minus this one chunk here, and then about half of an inner circle, which are all that color. And likewise here, we have this kind of yellow-green, bit neon, which is half of a circle, and then most of this one, and then this yellow-orange is half of that, and most of this one, and so on around the circles. So there's not any like crazy asymmetry in the color scheme. Now, some of the Geranium W specials that they have available, they do have a very different color scheme. However, I mean, as you can see, this is 3 of 8. They're very limited in number. I don't know if they're going to do more reproduction runs. I would love it if they did, because, I don't know what's going on with VeryPuzzle, but they've gone down this route of selling everything in DIY kits, and the whole Geranium series is discontinued. So basically, there's nothing for me at VeryPuzzle.com anymore. I have no interest in building puzzles myself. That's why I send my money to puzzle stores, so they can send me a fully assembled piece of work that I can just play with. So I'm really not down with this direction they've gone. I did write to them about it, just to be honest, and they wrote back and said that they do plan to start selling completed puzzles at some point. That, however, was a long time ago that I wrote them. I would say maybe 2 years ago. And thus far, I've only seen a decrease in the number of completed puzzles available rather than an increase. So I hope they haven't abandoned that philosophy, because, I've also seen all these horror stories of people trying to build, one of their newer Tut Minxes that's a DIY kit, and like having to do all sorts of crazy stuff to really get it functional. And yeah, I'm super not interested in that. That's not why I like twisty puzzles. I like to twist them and puzzle them. I don't like to build them. But some people do like to do that. And they also may be the same people that are, involved in 3D printing and designing puzzles and stuff. And, I'm happy that they will be able to do that. But yeah, in any case, the Geranium puzzle series was really cool and unique. And now it effectively doesn't exist anymore at VeryPuzzle. So yeah, I can only hope that this reproduction run might convince them to kind of revive the line. I think it would really be worth doing, and I'd love to see some new variations as well, not just with these kind of new sticker schemes that they've done for this reproduction run, but to really experiment with the form of 2D puzzles and get some really cool ideas going. There's a lot of neat stuff you can do with 2D twisty puzzles that I think hasn't been fully explored. Now in the era of 3D printing, there's more and more of them appearing on Twisty Puzzles forum and stuff. People are making cool designs, but as I was complaining about earlier, some of them are not available at all, and the others are like, you have to pay a bunch of money to Shapeways or iMaterialize or some such nonsense to get them. which is a real shame because, you know, I would like puzzles to be more accessible, not this kind of exclusive club trading designs on a, you know, poorly trafficked forum. You know, some of these designs are really cool and should be put out there in the world rather than just tucked away on a internet website, you know, with only puzzle enthusiasts ever finding them. Anyway, enough ranting. I've been sort of going through all these circles here. You can see that the turning is pretty good. These inner circles, you have to kind of have everything lined up pretty well, but yeah, you can still, even though I'm holding this awkwardly because of being behind the lens here, it's still, you know, turnable. It does take a little bit of fiddling, but nothing too bad. I think if I had this nice and flat and I wasn't futzing around with the camera, it would be really easy to manipulate, just like the other Geraniums, which have been really good. The other great thing is that they have spare stickers. I was complaining about this previously to VeryPuzzle. I wanted to get sticker sets for my Geraniums because, you know, they take many, many hundreds of moves to make any progress on those things, and the stickers were not great. They were coming off. You know, there's a tight kind of tolerance gap between these faces and this sort of plexiglass overlay thingy here. And sometimes the you know, if there's a slight upward movement on the face, it'll get caught and, you know, bump the sticker and stuff. And they said, well, we're not going to offer those, but here at least this one has some brand new stickers as well, which is fantastic. So also the box for this is much nicer than the old ones, which were really awkward to open, which again you'll see in the video if you take a look at that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result here. I really do think I will, you know, have to have a deep think about the Geranium W reproductions and whether that's something I can do at this point. I would really like to do that. If nothing else, to show my support for the Geranium puzzle line in general. But, you know, as I said, cost of living crisis and have to be practical about these things. Yeah, this box is so much nicer. You can just kind of, it's much thicker as well. It's proper sturdy, thick cardboard like you get on a high quality board game. So, yeah, great stuff. That's my orange gradient super Geranium. So we'll move on to the other three. So this is a little guy here. This is the Eliac puzzle. Now, this one I tried to track down numerous times. I contacted the creator, one of whom is a Spanish gentleman whose name I've unfortunately forgotten. And even though he's active on the forum and I private messaged him, I never really got a response. And I poked around asking VeryPuzzle and other people if they knew anything that I could do to track this down. Could never find a copy of it. But then, now they've made a reproduction. Now you can see, if you've ever seen pictures of the original version, that one was, I believe, just a black with stickers. This is now translucent plastic, which is cool. I mean, that will add durability to this thing because we're not messing around with stickers. Now, there are stickers in here as well. You can see Eliac there. So if you do want to have stickers on it, I guess you can do that, but I mean, I don't really see a reason for that. I guess if there's one issue with this, with the transparent, you know, stickerless plastic, is maybe that you know, seeing the individual pieces might be a little bit more difficult. But I think it's not too bad, actually. So let's see if yeah, I mean, I can easily tell where the stops are and, you know, where turns can be made. Now, I believe that this puzzle is quite complicated in its behavior. I remember seeing a thread of analysis on the Twisty Puzzle forums where people were talking about the strange behavior of the pieces in this puzzle, and there is actually a term for it, which I cannot remember. And again, I'm having issues with these screws coming off. I guess that they must loosen the screws before shipping so that it doesn't get sort of, maybe the plastic doesn't get marked if it bounces around or something. So I can understand that, but it's a little bit annoying. Anyway, it looks really nice. It's nice and compact. I really like this, that they've gone with a stickerless format. It's pretty cool. As with the other 2D puzzles that they've done in this sort of mass-produced style, you know, everything is safely tucked away under this plexiglass, and you have little cutouts through which you can manipulate the faces. There's enough give between the pieces. You can see there's a little bit of flex there, so you can do like very minor corner cutting. Nothing really spectacular. But yeah, I'm really, really pleased to have this one. The size is just about perfect. I think you can easily hold this in two hands and just go nuts. I don't really know where to start with this one. I'll have to do a little bit of research. It certainly has a complex pattern of cuts. You can see, compared to the Geranium, we have these sort of symmetric slices here, these tiny little pieces in those cuts. And it's a deep cut puzzle as well, like the Geranium. You know, the center cut goes actually past the origin all the way through here. So, you know, this is going to be a very complex solve. I find that, you know, these two circle puzzles can be really deceptive because you think, oh, well, it's not that many pieces. There's only two axes, you know, what could go wrong? But actually, it really takes a heck of a lot of work to move pieces around in this kind of format. And they can behave in a really unexpected way. And that's something I like about these flat puzzles. They don't take up a lot of space. They're easy to store, but man, are they a challenge, you know. And they also look beautiful. I mean, if I had the space, I'd love to put some of these on the wall or something as if they were like modern art. But yeah, that's the Eliac puzzle. You can see, actually, it's been upside down the whole time, but the stickers for the designers. So we have Galen, Ivanov, and Del Rubicao. That's the Spanish gentleman I was referring to. He has a fairly well-trafficked YouTube channel, so be sure and check that out if you're a Spanish speaker. Yeah, he's done quite a bit of design work, but again, a lot of it is just available in 3D printed form, or it's just kind of designs that he's showing off and nobody can get it. So I have mixed feelings about that, but this puzzle I was really excited about when I discovered it, and it was already well out of stock by then. So at last to have it in my possession in this limited format is pretty awesome. Very happy about that. All right, next up we have the Neon. This was part of, these two puzzles here are sort of connected. I think they were both from the designer, which may be Ivanov as well, in fact. And these were kind of from way back in the earlier days of VeryPuzzle relative to when I started collecting from them. And again, I found out about 2D puzzles, got really into it, found out about these, and discovered that they were just impossible to find. And there you go. This is the Neon, first of the pair. Now you can see, of course, why it gets its name. Beautiful, shiny colors here. Again, it's a stickerless format, which is fantastic. No stickers to worry about. I think that's an ideal way to make these 2D twist puzzles, and you'll see that they're really good for 3D printing as well, actually, because, you know, you can just print colored plastic, and you know, you don't have to worry about getting stickers cut and all that sort of stuff, and you can just plop the pieces right into their position and start moving them because you don't need a core or any kind of you know, assembly to make them turn. Now you can see this is a shallow cut 2D puzzle relative to the Eliac or the Geraniums. It's a little bit tough going on the turning, I have to say. I hope it'll loosen up over time. If I get a little bit of a grip here on the pieces, it goes a little bit better. But also, it's not a totally fair assessment because I am, again, behind the camera. Yeah, it does go, but if anything, though, that's probably a good thing because it will stop me from making idiotic decisions. That's interesting. There seems to be, you know, I'm wondering how much scrambling can be done with some of these. It looks like there's some effective, some bandaging, effectively, because, oh, geez. All right, it's not being very cooperative. Okay, so I can do that side. Now, will this side cooperate? There we go. Come on, you can do it. I think this one is really messing with me. You know what it is as well is that these two, the case here is very, very loose. So again, I think the screws being loose is messing with things a little bit here. It's quite a tight fit with the pieces, so I can imagine that if this frame is juggling about while I'm trying to turn it, then that could lead to some issues. So let's tighten that up a little bit. Let's see if that helps. There we go, not too much. Yeah, that's immediately better. That's immediately better. Okay, so that was a big source of the problem. Also, it needs to be quite aligned from the looks of it. If I'm even slightly off, it kind of bungs up a little bit. But yeah, I really like the visual design of it. It says Neon right there across the middle. I don't think it's going to be a too difficult solve because, I mean, relative to other 2D twisty puzzles, because it's shallow cut. There's not that many pieces. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I really like the aesthetic of this frame that it's in as well. And yeah, it's just great to have this. For me, it's almost like, you know, tracking down an antique or something that I've been looking for ages. It's really great to finally have that in my collection. Now, the other guy, and the final puzzle to show off today, is the Algol, which Dmitry Andreev. Okay, so it's not Galen, it is Dmitry. Sorry about that. Normally, I would do a bit more research before I start showing off puzzles like this, but I was just too excited to get these in the post. I've been waiting for a few weeks for them to arrive. HKNowStore tends to take a bit of time with their shipping, but and on one occasion I had a puzzle lost, and it has never come to me. I just lost like $50. So, you know, I was actually a little bit reticent to buy this from them on account of that, but they did me right this time. There we go. Okay. So this is the Algol, and yeah, this one also has a nice kind of bright neon vibe going on here. You can see it's number 68. Now, so I'm assuming that HKNowStore must have done the minimum 100 puzzle print run that is listed on the VeryPuzzle site as what they'll do for a reproduction run. So this would make me 68 out of 100. Now, this one seems a little bit tighter from the get-go, so that's good. And yeah, this one is, you can see it's quite akin to the neon. It's got a rounded base here. We don't have that kind of angular shape of the other. And it also is deeper cut. Less pieces, but deeper cut. So I'm not sure how that will pan out in terms of the solve. Boy, this is really tight. I think this one and the neon need to be broken in a little bit. And probably I'll discover when I'm not behind the lens. They will move a heck of a lot better. But it's unfortunate they're not just straight out of the box really comfy like the Geranium was. There we go. Yeah, it's going. It's going. And I will adjust the tightness of the screws as well. It's possible I might have gone overboard a little bit. You know, there's probably an optimum tightness that I just don't really know. Now the pieces in this one have an interesting kind of shape. You can see we've got these guys here just kind of hanging out at weird angles, and we've got these extended pointy triangle pieces. I mean, I'm not really sure what it's going to look like when it's scrambled. It'll probably look pretty crazy, to be honest. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. I'm a little bit less excited about what a pain in the ass it is to turn. But honestly, I do think it's probably, 50% my fault and 50% just needs breaking in. So I'm not going to criticize VeryPuzzle too much for that. We've got this combo of the pieces need to be loose, so they're forgiving, but they also need to be held tightly in to this two-dimensional area. They're also weirdly shaped, so it's kind of hard to get a good grip when you're turning it. It also, because they are a bit loose, when you turn one circle, the other one tends to move, and then you go out of alignment. So I just need to perfect my technique, really. But yeah, so that's the Algol. And again, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that this puzzle, the neon, is by the same designer, Dmitry Andreev. So really happy that these are finally in my hands, and I hope that means as well that he's gotten some compensation, which I'm sure he has. I'm going to keep my eye out for more cool 2D puzzles from VeryPuzzle. I also should note that HKNowStore is now offering a bunch of kind of homegrown 3D printed 2D Twisty puzzles that are designed by themselves. And they're quite affordable. Some of them look really interesting and complex. There's a little bit of controversy that one of them is very similar to a design that was on the forums, etc. But, that kind of thing happens a lot. I'm sure it will be sorted out amicably one way or another. But in the meantime, to go take a look on the HKNowStore where they actually have a category for the 2D Twisties right now, and see what you can see. I mean, definitely the Algol and the Neon are still available. The special editions of the Geraniums are very, very limited and going quickly, so do keep an eye out for those if you want them. But please leave me a Geranium W in a special color if you would be so kind, because I'd like to try and save some money and get one. Anyway, thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this quick little peek at these 2D puzzles. I'll try and do my research about the Eliac and the Neon and Algol especially, and maybe come back with some more info on those in a later video. given that they were so hard to find, I didn't do a lot of research about the mechanics of those puzzles and, you know, the designer's work and what they were inspired by and so on. But I think there's probably some interesting stories there, and also maybe some useful info for the solve and figuring that out. So if I find anything cool and useful about solving these, now that they are available, albeit briefly, I'll try and bring you some info when I can. In the meantime, I'm going to have a blast playing with these, getting them nice and ready for use and broken in. So in the meantime, I hope you are all staying safe, healthy, and well. Let me know in the comments what you think of the puzzles, if you yourself are going to get any of these special editions from VeryPuzzle. And if you spot anything 2D Twisty puzzles wise that you think I'd be interested in, please let me know. I really love this category of puzzles, and you know, the more the merrier. If there's anything good out there that I haven't seen, please give me a shout, and I'd love to take a look at it. Anyway, with that said, take care everybody, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video and in the comments. All right, take care, and bye-bye.